Welcome to the podcast. It is episode number 2, and you can find it wherever you do your podcast at The Pulse of Jonesboro. I appreciate you taking the time to listen. Hopefully you listened to the first one and you enjoyed it. Our job is putting out great stuff for you guys so that we can move Jonesboro, Craighead, and Northeast Arkansas in a positive direction. This is about you guys. This is about bringing voice to many people that don't have it, and also just putting information out there to make everybody aware. Knowledge brings power, and so that's what this podcast is about. It's not about blowing up bridges. It's actually about building bridges. We will talk about hard stuff, and we will move the needle, hopefully in a positive way. But when we bring up the tough stuff, and those that are in charge listen to it and really apply it into what they're doing each and every day, they will make a difference in a positive way. Some may get hurt, and that's okay. That's not what this is for. We're really just trying to move the needle in a positive direction. So today we're going to go and talk a lot about who we are as a town. I want to talk about the employment that we got going on in Jonesboro, and then how that applies to the direction in which we're going as a town. So I wear glasses, and so I'll be putting them back and forth. We're trying to figure out the whole glare thing. But Jonesboro is an agri town. It's a manufacturing town. It's an education town, and it's also a healthcare town. And then we got a lot of stuff in between. But I definitely wanted to focus on those 4 because those 4 really make up a huge portion of our workforce. And according to Data USA and Simply Hire and some other Indeed and things like that, we have accumulated quite a few numbers. And according to those, there is about 36,000 employees within Jonesboro. And the agri, manufacturing, education, and healthcare make up a huge portion of that, like I said. So let's dive into these and really look at them individually and then talk about them collectively. Let's start with agri. I think it's pretty simple. We've got a lot of farmers, bankers that specialize in farming. We have a lot of people that sell stuff specialized in farming. We have a lot of equipment sales that specialize in farming. So agri is huge, and it brings a huge amount of money and work and things like that to Jonesboro. Now, the problem is that each farmer's different. And I've got a good friend of mine, and he's done it the same way that his father did it, which his father did it, and there's nothing wrong with that. And then I've got another friend that is always on the cutting edge of anything and everything that possibly is going on within the farming community, and they both do very well. They're both successful. And you know why I'm bringing this up at the end of this. But so we've got agri. Let's jump into manufacturing. We've got some unbelievable manufacturing facilities here. And when you say manufacturing in Jonesboro, I don't know about you, but I think of Hy-Tro immediately. And the reason why I do is it's been around the majority of all of my life when I was a kid and into my adult life. And you hear the great stories about how well they treat their employees and the things that they do. And they're always on the cutting edge, and they have really separated themselves across the nation as being one of the best that there is. I got a quick little story. I was in the corporate world for a while, and I was out in Colorado helping Denver International Airport get off the ground after being built, and they were having huge conveyor issues. They state-of-the-art conveyors, and anyways, they were breaking down, and they were launching stuff into the air and all kinds of stuff and losing baggages. But it was neat because I was there, not in the conveyor, in something completely different. But what was super cool is I was talking to some groups, and they said, oh, yeah, we've got this company that's going to come in and really fix everything. And it ended up being Hy-Tro. So that was pretty cool. I got to say, hey, that's from my hometown. They've always been on the cutting edge, and they've always been doing some amazing things. And I've got some friends that work out there, and I've got some friends that have retired from there, and they have nothing but great things to say about Hy-Tro. But Hy-Tro, I think they have somewhere around 500 employees. You've got Riceland and Nestle and Frito-Lay, and there's just a lot that we have here. We got ones that are in the farming, and the headquarters is here, but they have plants all over the United States. They also service nationwide and worldwide, and we have some casting facilities, and they're specialized in casting for like jets and things like that. And I don't know if anybody knows about those things, but those exist here, and then have a lot of different innovative things here in Jonesboro, and a lot of locally owned things here in Jonesboro as far as the manufacturing goes. It is a huge industry for us. And let's talk about the employees and how many employees we have in that industry. And if we dive into the numbers, and again, I got this from Data USA and Simply Hire and Indeed and some other ones, we have somewhere around 6,000 to 8,000 employees that are in that sector. And that's a pretty big number considering, again, we have 36,000 jobs here in Jonesboro. That's a big number, and that's about a sixth of the total population of employment. And then you jump into the education. Education is a big one. It's actually a little bit bigger than I thought, but with ASU and then all the schools, I thought it was an important one that we needed to bring up. And if you look at the ASU, a little over 2,000 employees. And again, this is same with the manufacturing. This is the management. This is the billing and the movement and everything in the manufacturing side of it. And then the schools is teachers and then the administration and also the support staff. ASU has about 2,100. JPS has somewhere around 700. Brooklyn and all of those make up about 500 or 600, 700, somewhere in there, all the different schools. And so we average somewhere around 3,000 to 3,400 in the education area. And that's a pretty significant number when you start to think about it. And then let's look at the healthcare industry. Now, the healthcare industry is actually the largest, which was a little bit surprising. I knew it was going to be pretty big, but I didn't know it was going to be the largest. And if you look at it, we have St. Bernard's and we have Baptist, and they're both vital to our community. St. Bernard's is part of the reasons why we are who we are is because the establishment of St. Bernard's back in the day and the growth that has come from St. Bernard's and continues to grow, which brings in lots of people to come and people that need to be near. But it also pulls somewhere around 400,000 to 500,000 people. Jonesboro, actually, the metro, Northeast Arkansas, all comes to Jonesboro for their health care for the most part. And that's a huge number. And when you dive into the medical and you look at the numbers and you find out with doctors and nurses and the support staff and the administration, we have somewhere between 10 and 12,000 medical jobs. So if you add those up, we have just over 20,000 out of the 36,000 jobs that are from just those three. Really hard to find the ag-ride numbers, but they're obviously there. And when discussing what we're discussing, I think they're important. And we have Riceland, which serves both of them, obviously. So the numbers were a little bit off, but maybe in the manufacturing side, I was getting some of the farming and stuff like that. But we talk about, that's another one, by the way. Riceland is a huge staple of Jonesboro and always has been, and the world's largest rice producer. It's an amazing feat, and we need to be real proud of that. And in my opinion, we need to put 2 stars on both of those places, Hytro and Riceland, and really lift ourselves up based upon those companies. But we look at these numbers and we say, why do we want to talk about these numbers? The truth is that we're spending money, lots of money, millions and millions of dollars on quality of life. And what does that mean? Quality of life is what do we like to do when we're not working? And I know what I like to do, but there's actually statistics based upon these industries and what they like to do. And what does that mean? Are we spending our money wisely? Are we actually taking into account these types of things when we make huge investments into the quality of life of Jonesboro? And I would say that we are doing some great things when it comes to quality of life, and then we're overspending in a lot of other areas. And we're leaving a great large portion out of what we can be doing to better serve those that are in Jonesboro. It's funny, I was talking to some business owners over the last week and kind of getting their take on all of this. And a couple of them said the same thing and said, hey, when we were 60 to 70,000, it was perfect for us. Actually, one of them said actually the growing has actually hurt them a little bit, which I thought was interesting because I know the mayor wants to go to 100, and you guys heard me on the last podcast. We better make sure that we're going to 100 in the right way, not in the wrong way, and that means that we're bringing people that want to be productive in, not people that are looking for an easy way out of whatever situation that they're currently in, and they're trying to come in and take advantage of the rest of us. But hopefully we're doing a better job of making sure when we grow, we're growing in the right direction. And that's what some of this is about, the podcast and this information. I think we could do better as a manufacturing. I think we could really provide more to our manufacturing facilities so that we are even more desirable to maybe ones that want to come in. We still don't service them on the bus routes. Before COVID, we were starting to work with techs and things like that to try to turn out people ready to go into certain jobs and high-paying jobs. I believe it was Nestle hired some directly from Jonesboro's Votech and went to jobs that were paying $25 to $30 somewhere in there an hour. I know that heat and air people were going over there, and we were actually certifying kids in HVAC at a high school, and a lot of HVAC companies were picking them up and paying them really good. And I think we need to get back to that. We kind of lost that, and we need to jump back on that and really push ASU to do some of the same things. What do those that work in the manufacturing facilities, what do they like to do on their times off? And I did some statistics on that. It's pretty interesting. So let me read some of these off. They're repetitive tasking in the long hours, and a lot of times it's physically demanding. And so that kind of reflects on what they like to do. And it's funny, they like to relax, blow off steam, and they also like a lot of downtime. And the majority of these types of people like fishing, woodworking, tinkering on cars. Some of them like physical activity, like playing pickup sports, hunting, and that says kicking back and having a beer. That's actually the biggest things that are on this. Grilling out with friends and catching up with family, and that's for the majority of that's what they like to do. And we ought to put a board up, in my opinion, within the city, and we should say this is 8,000. Let's look at the medical field. The medical field is actually more diverse, obviously. I've got friends that are doctors, and some of them are personalities are completely different from one another, and so it is a very different area. Nurses from doctors, there's some economics in there as well, but basically it's long shifts, emotional intensity, physically exhausting. And so these are the things that they like to do. They like to unwind. They like to do things that recharge themselves. A lot like to do running and yoga, hitting the gym, exercising, anything that's a natural stress buster. They love to do getting outdoors. And a ton of them love to read, binge watch shows, even gaming. It talks about to grab coffee and drinks with coworkers, like to cook, like to paint, playing music, enjoying going out and listening to music and just relaxing. Some like to hike, and then there's a portion that like to get out of town. There's even one that says sleep. So I think we all like to sleep. But so that's that in a nutshell, and that's getting to know the medical field. And then the education field, and again, it's very diverse. If you take ASU, you've got teachers and you've got administration and you've got a lot of different ones that the support staff and stuff in every realm. It's just different, but they have some of the same interests, but their interests do vary as well. But the work often involves repetitive tasks and long hours on their feet, and it's physically demanding. So this kind of is good to know because this is what they like to do. They like things that have a lot of relaxation. They like to blow off steam, whatever that means. And they like to make the most of their downtime. And so basically what that's saying to me is that from Friday night till they go back Monday morning, they really fill that time up with things to do. It says that many have a lot of different hobbies, and a lot of woodworking and working with cars and stuff like that, and flowers, and they like to garden. Some love to pick up sports, hunting, and again, kicking back with friends. There's a lot of different gaming, and that doesn't mean like on the TV. That means playing games and bowling and things like that. They also really love to just hang out, grill, catch up with family. That's that in a nutshell. And why do we talk about that? If let's say we have $20 million that we're going to invest in Jonesboro, and we sink $5 million of that into bike trails. Bike trails are great, but that's servicing an incredibly small amount of people. Now, we have, I would say, arguably one of the best outdoor businesses in the country. I remember when Gearhead started as a little bitty building, and probably about the same size as this room that I'm in, maybe twice the size of the same room that I was in. And they've built an unbelievable, great place, and we need to celebrate them and support them for sure. And I'm sure that they could tell you how many bikes they sell a year and how many people bike. And I play disc golf regularly, and I was involved this last weekend in a tournament where 5 of the top 10 female disc golfers in the world were here playing, and they said it was their favorite place to play. They said it for multiple reasons. They thought it was beautiful. The course was unbelievable. They loved the course, and they loved that it wasn't a big town that they were in playing, that they were actually in something that they could low-key hang out in and just enjoy the week playing disc golf. And they love it here in the disc golf community, probably about the same size as bicycling. And does the disc golf, if you look at it, do they get $5 million? I would say, even though I play disc golf, I don't think that they deserve $5 million. I think that they deserve what they deserve, and that would be the impact into Jonesboro, the impact of the amount of people and the amount of people it draws. What was great is that we had several people here from Nashville. We had some from St. Louis and Little Rock, and had a couple from Oklahoma. We even had some from Minnesota, all over the country, and they were here. And the cool thing is several weeks prior to this, we had 150 collegiate players from, I can't remember, 60 different universities here playing for their championship. And they brought probably 300-400 people. And it's important to recognize those things, but it's also important to realize that that's, again, a very small few when it comes to quality of life, but it is a portion. We got a lot of people that love to fish. Craighead, in my opinion, is an oasis that we have yet to really tap. I believe that we should be sinking a ton more money into Craighead. Craighead is one of those places that you go out anytime and there's tons and tons of people, more so than anywhere else that we go at any given time. You could go to bowling on league night, and obviously it's full and there's several hundred people there, but every single day, with the exception of obviously stormy, rainy days, but every single day there's tons and tons of people out at Craighead using Craighead. And I think we really need to dive into how much we need to invest out in Craighead. I think we need to invest a whole lot more. I think we also need to put paddle boats and make it way better fishing and maybe even swimming again. And we attempted to do that years ago, and we have meadows that we can make grasslands where you throw a blanket down and have a great picnic. And we really could invest in that area, and then those that are out there working could actually have a career instead of a job. It's what it is right now. But if we trained them and gave them each a specific task or a couple of specific tasks and really trained them and let them go and see how well they could do, that could become a career instead of a job. And we've got disc golf things out there. We have baseball, and there's one basketball, and I see it being used, believe it or not. The trails and the tracks, mountain bikers. My brother's a big mountain biker. He loves it. And you got runners on the inside track and the outside track. You got a ton of walkers. And there's some pavilions. They're campers. But we could do better for camping. We have very limited camping spots. And then the playgrounds. The playgrounds always have kids on them. And that's a great thing. And maybe we do a couple more out there. And I just think it's a very untapped area, and we spend a ton of money. Creth, I think, was a total waste of money. That may hurt some people's feelings, and it's not why I'm saying it, but you go down to Creth right now, I guarantee it's completely empty. Nobody's using the sidewalks or the bike path. Somebody may be driving down it, because I've seen more people driving down it than any bikes. I've actually never seen a bike. But I know that some people do use their bike, but the majority of the time it's somebody parking on it or driving down the bike path. And we've spent, I think, just on that road and the sidewalks is somewhere around $3 million. So could that have gone somewhere else? Absolutely. Do we want to bridge ASU with downtown? I don't know. I think we want to bridge ASU with surrounding areas. We're trying to do that, but it's not meshing completely. But I think that if we really surround ASU with whatever atmosphere that people want to talk about in that world, the college experience, then we should really be pushing something around there, not all the way downtown. If we want to funnel into downtown, we should do it safely and say, hey, let's run bus routes Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, 3 going in, 3 going out, or whatever it takes in order to make sure that we're servicing whoever it wants to be to go downtown and just make it safe. And those are the ways that we should be tackling the way that we spend our money. The trail from Jonesboro to Paragould serves an incredibly small few. And yet we're thinking about that and talking about that, and that's millions and millions of dollars. When, again, we got tons of fisher people. We've got tons of people that want to do woodworking. We've got tons of people that want more opportunity to hang out with friends and comfortable places and really relaxing places. We should make places out at Craighead that are strictly for hammocking. There's lots of things that should be done that aren't being done. And I'm not one of those guys that I can sit here and say, hey, this is what we ought to be doing. But I can tell you this, that we're not doing a lot of things. And one of the biggest ones is we're not servicing our kids. Our kids have nothing to do. And that's bad. They hang out in parking lots. They've got the bowling alley and a couple other things, but they got the trampoline park and different things. But as they get older, that age between when junior high to becoming an adult, there's not a whole lot of stuff for them to do. We don't have a soda shop, or we don't have water parks, or we don't have there's just lots of different things that we do not have that are servicing kids. If you made a kid place where it was just to hang out for 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds, and they could come and chill out and have seating areas and soda and nachos and things like that, I guarantee there'd be tons and tons of people, tons and tons of kids there if you just made it the opportunity for that to happen. We've got to do better. We're not sinking a bunch of money into servicing our kids. Matter of fact, I can't tell you when the last time we sunk a bunch of money into servicing our kids. You guys heard me say in the last podcast how important our schools are, and yet we can't even give them an outlet. We're not even doing anything for them as far as the city goes. And I think that's a shame. Take these numbers and think about them, and maybe those that are in leadership will take a look at these and listen to these and really start to scratch their head and really think about what direction we need to move as Jonesboro, and who we should be making sure that we're providing outlets for. We talk about quality of life. The other thing I really want to leave you with is I hear a lot of people talking about being Fayetteville or being Springdale or whatever, Rogers and so forth, and Bentonville, and things we're never going to be those. We don't have Walmart sinking billions and Hunts and Tyson sinking billions and billions of dollars into anything. We just don't have that. But what we can be is the best version of Jonesboro. Jonesboro is I never want to leave this out. We're a pretty faithful community. Lots of churches and a lot of people that believe in God and the sacrifice that Jesus Christ made for us. And we need to service those. We have tons of churches, but do we have tons of outlets that allow people like that to really go and see? We do a pretty good job on like coffee shops and things like that. And if you go to some of them, people are hanging out and having meetings, and I even see some Bible studies at some of them, and they're great. But I promise you, we could probably use more. We have a great amount of restaurants. We probably don't need a ton more restaurants, I would say, but we do need to support those ones that are locally owned. And I think it's important. We'll probably do a podcast separating out those that are locally owned versus those that aren't. And it's kind of like people see Guthrie's, and Guthrie's actually owned by a local person. They own the franchise, but they are locally owned. And then you do have things like some of these other big ones, Chili's and things like that don't really have locally owned people, but we need to make sure that we know who they are and which ones they are, and make sure that we're supporting them. But I don't want to veer off too far, but we need to take these numbers, and those that are in charge, they really need to, this includes the county in Northeast Arkansas, and really start providing outlets for everybody, and really take the opportunity to research and figure out what in the world it is that we're supposed to be spending our money. We want to talk about quality of life and do it in a manner that reaches lots of different people. We are a kind of a melting pot as far as work and that kind of stuff goes. And the biggest thing is make sure that everything that we do is safe. You want to build a road down the middle of a dangerous neighborhood, think about what you're doing there. And maybe in a year or two, that road will be full of people, and we can say it was a good investment. But I got a feeling that in probably 2 or 3 years that those roads are going to look worse than our current roads that aren't being taken care of. And so we got to do a better job. And I want to leave this podcast, and I want to just say, again, I appreciate so much. We're going to be providing the website. We may have it actually in the links today, and you can go and you can start communicating with us, and we can start compiling data and really wanting to get to know what you guys think of Jonesboro and the direction that we need to be going and what you believe your needs are with your family and wherever you work and things like that. And we'll be bringing that to the podcast. We have a great people set up throughout the year of doing some interviews and things like that. So we'll be able to listen to some of the people within the community and business people and those in charge of like A&P and certain things like that, and just pick their brain and see where they're at on things. And so I look forward to those, and we'll also have ways and links to help support this. We're putting a ton of time and effort into it, and over the long haul, I wanted to make sure that we are providing what you guys want. This is your voice, and I don't always have to agree with your voice to give the information out, and that we want to make sure that we're giving the information out based upon facts, not my feelings. When I say it's my feelings, I'll say it's my feelings. When I say it's facts or numbers, then we'll give that out. And I want to thank those that serve us, the police department and the fire department, and tell each of you to go out and make sure that you support them. And they put their lives on the line each and every day for us, and they need our support and our understanding of how hard their jobs are. And we need to make sure that we're not adding to the complications of them serving our community. When you guys see them, please reach out to them and tell them thank you. Again, thank you for tuning in. We will do this every Thursday, and there may be a chance that we do this a couple times a week. Appreciate you guys. Have a great week.